The grant program of the American Pilgrims on the Camino is a way we give back to the Camino. Carmen Marriott, Vice Chair of American Pilgrims, says, "We consider it our flagship program." In this video, you will see excerpts of a 2020 Camino Talks podcast featuring board members Dave Donsler and Carmen Marriott, a Camino Grants presentation from the 2020 gathering at Lake Tahoe, and this is where the magic happens, testimonials from some of those organizations and albergues which received grants.
Hello everybody, I'm Sean from Follow the Camino, and on this episode of Camino Talks, I'm delighted to be talking with two people from the American Pilgrims on the Camino. In Virginia, in the United States, is David Donsler, who's the chairperson of that society, and also in Tucson, Arizona, is Carmen Marriott, who is the vice chairperson of the American Pilgrims on the Camino. Welcome, David and Carmen.
Thank you, Rim.
So I'm going to kind of talk briefly to each of you, just ask you to kind of introduce yourself. So David first, who is David Donsler and what is your connection with the American Pilgrims on the Camino?
Sure. I currently have the pleasure of chairing the American Pilgrims on the Camino Board of Directors. I've been a member of the board since about 2017. And so I lead an 11-member all-volunteer board of directors and an organization comprised almost entirely of volunteers to carry out our mission.
Thank you. And Carmen, tell me a little bit about yourself, please.
I am the vice chair of American Pilgrims on the Camino. I've been on the board for about 5 years. I've walked a Camino every year since 2014, except for this year. They've been canceled. And I have been very much involved with the grants program of our organization. And I've served as the secretary and the vice chair for this great organization.
Okay, thank you. So, Carmen, I'll stay with you. Can you maybe describe a little bit about the work of the American Pilgrims on the Camino, what it stands for and what its purpose is?
Well, we have a pretty broad mission. It's kind of threefold, and I'll read it to you. It's to foster the enduring tradition of the Camino by supporting its infrastructure, by gathering pilgrims together, and by providing information and encouragement to path and future pilgrims. That's our mission. And the things that we do to support that mission include our grants program that I talked about. It includes our chapters. We have over 60 chapters in the United States. It includes our annual gathering, where we usually gather between 200 and 300 pilgrims together and inform them, both past and future pilgrims, about the Camino.
Carmen can talk more about the grants, but we've had a good discussion among our board on our grants program and the importance of that going forward to support the Camino infrastructure, particularly after this year.
Yes, so Carmen, so I understand the American Pilgrims on the Camino have been kind of supporting various projects over the last 10 years or so in Spain and Portugal, and I think you've supported maybe over 75, 80 projects. Maybe can you talk about that, what that support actually means and how you raise money and where it goes?
Well, I'd like to start with, we are a nonprofit, and all of our money comes from either membership dues or donations. That's the only source of, we don't go out and seek money from others. That's donations and membership dues. And yes, our program has been in place in full swing for the last 10 years. We've given close to $400,000 out, over 85 projects, counting this year's projects that we've not yet dispersed the money, but we've approved the grants, and we've heard back from our recipients that they need the money just as much now, if not more so than they did before, to complete their projects. And these projects are to develop the infrastructure. We don't fund operating costs. We're not allowed by U.S. law to do that. But the infrastructures can be anything from repairing a roof to putting a water cistern in place, to waymarking, stone markers or other kind of markers, washing machines, mattresses, just about anything that you need to run an albergue, we have funded. It's a competitive process. We have much more requests than we have money for, but we have averaged about between $45,000 and $50,000 a year over the last 10 years. Started off much smaller in the early years, but it's a loved project by our members. It's part of what gets them very interested in supporting the Camino because they've stayed at these places. And our hospitaleros, sometimes we have funded like a separate bathroom for an hospitalero instead of sharing with 60 other people. If you're there for 2 weeks, you would get your, and Ponce de Leon, we put a new bathroom in for that. And it makes for the ability to be of service to pilgrims much easier, and it makes the place for the pilgrims a much better place to stay too. So we consider it kind of our flagship program, if you will, and love to talk to you about more, whatever you want. I could go on and on.
No, it's great that you're in a position to actually provide support like that and help. I'd like to touch on that.
The mission of American Pilgrims on the Camino is to foster the enduring tradition of the Camino by supporting its infrastructure, by gathering pilgrims together, and by providing information and encouragement to past and future pilgrims. Celebrating the impact on the Camino experience. Supporting the Camino infrastructure is one way we give back to the Camino. Membership dues and generous donations allow us to award competitive grants. 2008, the genesis or beginning of the grants program. The board determined there were sufficient funds to initiate a targeted grant program to support pilgrims. A personal connection with Father Blas Rodriguez Boyero facilitated the connection. The first grant was made to construct an addition to the Albergue Parroquial Santa Maria in Fuenterroble de Salvatierra on Via de la Plata. The first grant project before and after. The formal grant program began in 2009 with a commitment to support infrastructure grants, gathering, and information grants. Organizational challenges of the grant program. Establishing a program in 2 languages, disseminating information about the program to organizations in Europe, conducting an effective grant review, making recommendations to the board of directors, transferring funds internationally, and gathering post-program reports from grantees. Membership in American Pilgrims increases or decreases with the number of American Pilgrims on the Camino. Due to the impact of COVID, our 2020 and 2021 membership numbers have decreased. The grant program continued to grow and has funded improvements such as solar panels, energy-efficient windows, extension of emergency stairs, a hospitalero bathroom, and even funds for a patrol vehicle for the Pyrenees used to rescue pilgrims caught in bad weather. The Albergue Partnership Pilot. For over 4 years, the Puget Sound chapter provided grants and hospitaleros to Santa Maria Albergue at Carrion de los Condes. The conclusion was the grants process works best with one application process and no special status for any one organization or place. The impact of the grant program. Grants are made to nonprofit organizations for Camino projects in Spain, Portugal, and France for albergues, signage, etc. As of 2021, $414,000 has been granted and 108 projects have been supported. With few exceptions, including the impact of COVID on the 2021 grant cycle, there has been an upward trend in grants awarded. Becoming a grant maker. As a grant maker, we follow open, clear, consistent, and fair processes. We target nonprofit Camino organizations with projects with high benefit to pilgrims. An organization may receive grants for 3 years in a row, but then must sit out for a year. This avoids creating a dependency or expectation on the part of the organization. It also allows and enables American Pilgrims to fund more organization. The review process. We involve our membership in the process through reviewer teams. Reviewers are Spanish-speaking members at large and board members. We follow well-defined grant criteria that comply with U.S. international grant-making laws. We make an effort to ensure that worthy projects are all considered regardless of the applicant's sophistication. The future of the program. Supporting Camino infrastructure is one way we give back to the Camino. Membership dues and generous donations allow us to award competitive grants each year. We highlight our grant program through La Concha, Facebook, our local chapters, and the Spanish Federation-sponsored annual Encuentro de Hospitaleros. Donations to American Pilgrims can be earmarked for the grant program. Here are 2 testimonials from grant recipients describing how they used the funds to improve their albergues. Have you stayed at one of these albergues?
Santuario de la Carballeda, sede de la Cofradía de los Falifos. Monumento de homenaje al peregrino. Esta es la primera planta del albergue, uno de los emisores térmicos. Otro emisor térmico. Luz. Este es el salón de entrada, que tiene sala de exposiciones permanente y biblioteca jacobea. Un emisor térmico en el salón. Este es el pasillo con luces detectoras de movimiento. La cocina totalmente equipada. El acceso a la escalera, primera planta. Aseo de minusválidos. Acceso al dormitorio de la planta baja. Otro emisor térmico, salida al patio, patio cubierto y patio descubierto.
Os presentamos las reformas que hemos tenido en el albergue, que gracias a contribuciones como la de los peregrinos americanos del Camino y otras asociaciones hemos podido realizar. Gracias a estas subvenciones hemos podido reformar todo el sistema de agua caliente y agua fría del albergue. Esta es la nueva entrada de agua al albergue y desde aquí a la parte de arriba del complejo Una de las mejoras que hemos tenido en el albergue con toda esta reforma es que ahora el agua caliente llega muy rápidamente a todas partes del albergue. Por ejemplo, en pocos segundos llegamos a tener ya 45 grados y en unos pocos segundos más llegaríamos hasta 50.